Hey, it's Mad Jack and GT back here from Somethins Brewin, and Greg's out there in the best spot in the country right now at the Brew Crew. You
And
can see the Prison
and
Break
something is
Brewery.
brewing. Yeah, something
Yeah,
is brewing here. Yeah.
something is brewing out there, and we got some topics to go over today. So how's your weather out there, Greg?
78, perfect. Got me a nice ice cold shot collar going. Things are going okay.
I guess so. We're back here in
Besides
Iowa.
being a broke old guy, other than that, everything's going great.
Well,
Yeah.
hell, you can't get everything. Can't get everything. Yeah, we're back here in Iowa. 30, the sunshine. We got 30 degrees, so we think we're living large right now. But
Oh, it's
anyway, we'll
30
crack.
still?
Well, yeah, it's March.
What
Hell,
can you do?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
80 degrees 2 days ago. But listen, I wanted to talk about something. I had some people ask me, some of our people, we're getting some viewers and stuff out there. And I was approached about this a few times. And I showed people our first beer we had out, Shanked. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because you came up with this name. I remember very well you came up with this name, and I know how, and maybe guys been behind the fence know there's more than just the term being shanked. We're not talking about violence, but where'd you come up with it? What's it really mean, and what should people think of it?
Okay, like you said, you were there, and for some reason it just popped in my head. When I said we could call the Prison Break Brewery, the first beer would be called Shanked. And Shanked, it's just such a common thing, not in the camps, but in the higher securities where people make shanks. And they make them out of anything. At Victorville, we rebuilt Humvees for the Iraq War, and so there's a lot of plexiglass. So they made them out of plexiglass there because they didn't make the metal detectors go off. But everywhere else, it's mostly a piece of metal that somebody sharpens and wraps some tape around. And I'm not trying to glorify the shank thing. Me and you, we've talked about this, and we're trying to bring up the most negative aspects of prison and try to turn this into a positive thing where we hire some guys and we get ourselves going in the right direction also. And shanks, it's this. Now on the East Coast, it's called a shiv. On the East Coast, if you say shank, they go, "What's that?" And I go, "Because I did time in Rhode Island." I go, "A shiv." And they go, "Oh, so on the East Coast, for all you people out east, that would be known as a shiv. But out here, in California and Western states, it's called a shank."
So basically, it's what we're trying to point across people is everything we do is the truth about prison. We're bringing it out. And some may sound dumb, some may sound violent. Doesn't mean it's violent. A shank is just it could be a piece of metal, a piece of plate. The fact of the matter is, it's really there. It's part of prison.
Yeah, it's not like I said, we're not glorifying it. It's just something you deal with. It's no different than a count time or walking through a metal detector or chow time. Some people carry shanks. That wasn't my thing. I tried to avoid it at all costs.
Oh yeah.
I'm not down with that really. I'm down, defending myself, of course, but it's just the way it is. And hopefully you never have to deal with something like that.
Did you think that when you named the beer, the first beer, that did you? I guess why did you? There's a lot of we can call it a million things, but that just seemed to stick, and it seems to have stuck. A lot of people have told me, "Man, that's a really cool name," and we're actually addressing the minority of people. If they're worried about that, we're not advocating anything. It's a reality of prison. But why did that stick to your head?
Jack, it's funny we had our little bull sessions there where we had our office there, and it was just the first one that came to me. And I mean, I pictured the whole thing in my head right then. It's like, where do ideas come from? And I mean, that idea I had when me and you there was a bunch of us talking about this. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. The shank, the shot collar, the lock and a sock, that all things just come in your head. And it's things that, a lock and a sock. How many times have you heard that expression? Oh yeah, we got them with the lock and a sock. For you people who don't know, people will put a couple like in prison, you get a locker. And on the locker, you get a little master lock, combination lock. The cops have a key that they can open the back so they can come search your locker and go through your shit, which they do as much as they can. And anyways, so guys will put a few locks in a sock, and while somebody's sleeping, usually they come up and whack them with it, because if somebody gets assaulted in prison, the first thing they do, they lock everything down. They make everybody take their shirt off, as you know, Jack.
Oh yeah.
And then the cops come through and they say, "Hold out your hands."
Yeah.
And so if your knuckles are busted up, they don't ask you what happened or nothing.
Yep.
What do they do, Jack?
You're gone.
You
you
slap
wrap
the
you up and
cuffs on. They
you're done.
slap the cuffs on you, and you're gone. Exactly. And there's no recourse for that. You're gone.
No.
If you got a scarred knuckle, you're gone. And so people use the lock on a sock, and it's not that it's a better weapon. It's that it's to hide the fact that you did it more.
Yeah.
That's the misconception. Although it works great, and people will put soda pops in a sock too, or a pillowcase, anything not to leave marks on their hand.
Yeah.
And so you understand that. And we also have a logger that's called Lock on a Sock Logger, and it's got a comical picture of a character getting hit in the head with a lock, and it's a kind of a comedy cartoon thing. He's got a lump on his head, and we're not making light of it. We're not glorifying it. It just
It's a
is.
reality. Yeah,
It
it's a
just is.
reality.
Yeah.
I got a quick story about the lock and stock from Platoon. I got to tell you, we had an old black gentleman named Beauregard, who had this continuous ongoing battle with this young
Beauregard.
Beauregard. They
Beauregard,
called
really?
him. Yeah, they called him. That was Mr. Beauregard, real tall, old guy, real old guy. He always mumbled
Yeah.
to himself.
Well, of course
He had
he
this
would be.
ongoing run with a guy called Slim, was a white dude. He was a skinhead, and he lived on the top bunk. There was double bunks and an
And
open
skinheads
door
are trouble always.
all the time. And
All the time, yeah.
Anyway, so old Beauregard one day when Slim is taking a nap, he decides he's going to take him out. So he gets his sock out, takes off his lock, he puts it in there, and he goes down. He's swinging it over his head, getting a good. He's going to get like
Did
this.
you get him good?
No, he didn't. There's a hole in the end of the sock, and he's doing this right here. It shot out of the end of the toe of his sock.
Shut up.
Right above this other black guy's bunk. And this guy gets up, goes over, and pops him in the forehead, and says, "Go lay down, Mr. Beauregard." And that was the end of the battle. Slim never woke up, never knew it was happening, and that was the end of the big lock in the sock fight. But but
That's a good lock
was,
on a that's a good lock on a sock. Sorry.
yeah, it never happened. He almost got down there, but he was just twirling like a lariat. But anyway, so yeah, lock in the sock is a common thing. You said to cover, but so yeah, shanked is a cool thing. Lock in the sock is the other thing I wanted to go into is the shot collar. That's been a really, for people who don't know, I work down at a hospital and in shipping receiving still. A lot of guys have come to me and said, "Hey, they really have shot collars, and what the hell are these guys? The baddest dudes, the smartest? What are they?" So you want to kind of go through it's different levels a little bit too.
Yeah, well, well, at the higher level, like Victorville, that's a California yard. Even though it's federal, most of the Fed yards don't run tight California politics. California, I got to think nationwide, they might run the tightest politics. It's a big prison system. Texas probably does also. I've been down there too, but Texas Syndicate and stuff. But the shot collar thing is, as you know, excuse me. Every race is in prison parlance. A lot of times we call it a car. Well, who's got the white car? Basically who runs the white? Who's the shot caller for the whites? And okay, Victorville was this guy named Brandon, and he was an AB pledge from the penitentiary. They sent him over to try to straighten out our yard from problems with the skinheads, But so he had the white car, and then as you know, the Serenos. They, they like the whites. We call Serenos Southsiders. They call each other homies, Serenos. And in prison, the whites hang out with the Serenos in Southern California. It's just the way it is. And if you want to get a good handball game up, as a rule, you got to play with the Spanish guys. And anyway, so the Serenos will have a shot collar. The blacks, as a rule, they'll have a shot collar. Who's got the black cars? Who's running the black car? And then the Islanders. And then the Chiefs, and every race needs a shot collar, and it's not always the toughest guy, but a lot of times they're probably halfway dangerous, and they've got respect, and people don't toy with them, and they get to make this.
They're the final decision. They're the Supreme Court, basically.
They're the Supreme Court of everything, in their race, and then if there's an interracial thing on the yard, well, now all the shot callers will meet. Like we've had problems and almost had a riot at Safford with the Paisas. Now, to those you don't know, the Paisas, all the Mexicans don't run together. There's the Paisas, there's the Southsiders, which are the Serenos, and then there's the Norteños, and they're from Northern California. They don't put Norteños and Serenos in prison together. No. They separate them. They even though they're all Hispanic, they don't mix. That's how. Then there's Bulldogs from Fresno and stuff, and there has to be shot collars, because if let's just say I as a white guy, I go in and I sucker punch a Paisa. Well, the Paisas are going to get after me. And so they're going to go to the white. They're going to go, look, we want to give this guy a beat down. So they go to the white shot caller and they go, look, you guys got to give him a good beating or we got problems. And so then the shot caller can decide, hey, you shouldn't have done that, man. And then all of a sudden you get a visit from 6 youngsters come in your cell and bust you up pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just, you kind of need shot callers. It's not any different than governments that have leaders to avoid wars.
More efficient, though.
Yeah, more efficient and quicker
Way more
justice.
efficient.
Way more efficient and quicker justice. But you need them in order to keep from having riots, because nobody wants riots because they close the yard down. You're fucking locked in your cell or your whatever, your cubicle, your cell. It's, it sucks being locked down. You get bologna sandwiches, or peanut butter sandwich, you don't get to go have your meals. You don't get to get your showers.
No phones.
No visitation. No phones. Yeah, no phones, no showers. So you got to have shot callers. So that shot caller came right to my mind after the shank. We call another one shot caller. Now, our tap handle now, I don't have one of I forgot to bring the can. It just says shot caller on it. Our label, I just don't have the money to, I'm not selling cans of shot caller. So it's not cost effective for me to print a bunch of labels with the artwork I've already had done. And our artwork is a big nasty dude with a bunch of ink and he's looking through a prison fence and it's called shot caller. I've got artwork for this stuff. Shot collars are integral. You know that. And I got a little funny story. There, like the shot caller for the whites, like I told you at Victorville, there was a guy named Brandon. And anyways, he was a cool dude. And so anyways, there was A, B, C, D, E, and F, I think, at Victorville. E upper, E lower. So there were 6 units altogether. And each unit has a rep. Now, if there's a beef in the unit within the race or something, the rep has to referee it. Hey, no, man, you shouldn't have done that, man. And then he tells the shot caller and says, man, this dude fucked up. We got to get him a beating or something. And so each unit has a rep for the whites. Now, I don't know exactly how everybody, and I know for the Serenos run it like that too, and the Paisas, and the blacks are a little bit looser, but the Chiefs had one too, and the Islanders did. But the Islanders, by the way, are mostly Hawaiians and Samoans and some Asians run with the Islanders.
And the Chiefs are the Indians. Native Americans are Indians.
Native Americans. And in prison, it's Indians.
Yeah,
we don't do that politically correct shit, okay?
Yeah, they say Chief. They say Indian. They never say Native American. I spent a lot of time with them. But
no.
That's a left-wing white person's idea.
No, exactly. No, they would go, what? But they had a cool little hustle. They got to get their sweat on. They went to the sweat lodge, and the natives had a good hustle, and I was cool with the natives. But they were called the Chiefs, yeah, and nobody called them natives, and that's kind of funny that you bring that up. It's not the way it was.
Yeah.
But that being said, each unit had a rep. And so I remember Brandon goes, and we were having problems in our unit, and there was guys who want to be the rep, but they're not very judicious, let's say, in how they do things. Well, I was, at this time, I was like 49 or 50, so I really wasn't required. If you're under 50, you're supposed to, you got to be, they can make you a soldier. In other words, you got to go give beatings. If the shot caller says, hey, this guy needs to get tuned up, you got to go tune him up. And so if you're 50, they didn't make you do that. Well, I was right around 50 then, but I had already been in 13 years. Guys knew who I was. Brandon knew who I was. I had a lot more time in than him. And Brandon was a youngster because he used to always, he goes, come on, old man, let's go get high. Not to mention, I was on the white softball team and the white football team, and we'll just say I did pretty good. And so he liked having me on the team. So he was cool with me. He goes, look, old man, he goes, I need you to be the rep in E upper. And I go, nah, man, I don't like getting involved in that. I don't want to make the decision if someone has to get a beating. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to say this guy really needs a beating, and he looks at me and goes, this ain't no fucking democracy. I need you to be the rep. And you're going to be the rep in there. And I started laughing. And I go, how about if I get someone else to do it and I'll tell them what to do? He goes, well, let me see how that works out. But it was kind of funny because what you said is that, it's really not, you don't get to I don't really agree with that. Well, good. Okay, then the guys are going to come get you. The decisions are kind of final once they make them decisions. Yes.
But don't you think it's, if you really look at it, from what I saw of it the whole time there, it's very efficient compared to
It
what you see
has
out
to be
here.
done. It
Yeah,
has to be done.
yeah,
And somebody's got to be able to make a decision. It's like, it just does. Like Brandon got to, like there was guys who made hooch, made white lightning, and stuff like that. And that's how, they would raise money, the whites and that. That was kind of the white thing, making white lightning. No, none of the
yeah,
other races did it there. And yeah, if you were bringing in drugs and stuff like that, you got to kick the shot collar some,
yeah.
it's just the way it is.
Well, and it protected the yard. It's like, I remember, like I was on basically what was a Sereno yard, basic for all practical purposes, a Sereno yard, and
They
they
ran it
and
over at La Tuna.
La Tuna,
Yeah.
and they had the schedule. The way had a weight pile there that they kept taking away because guys were getting beat up in the weight pile and get their heads smashed with the weights, and so they
Yeah.
kept taking it away. And so we had a meeting. They said, so the Serenos, they said we don't want to lose all this. They schedule all the times, and the Serenos, people don't understand it. And maybe I don't know if they were like this with you, but they trained like an army. They all trained together. They lifted
And you
together.
had to show up.
Yeah,
It
you
wasn't
better be
that
there.
wasn't no, no, no.
No,
This wasn't oh no, I'm gonna go work. Maybe I'll work out with you guys this morning.
no. No, the white guys, a lot of times, they'd kind of wander into their time and stuff. But when the
No, no.
Serenos had their time set, that was it.
Yeah.
Don't wander in that weight pile. And we had some guys come in, and I don't know, they were out of New Mexico, and they decided to go on in there. And just like that, they just, boom, it was over with. And they laid them out, brought them out and drug them out, laid them down. And even the COs just went over there and said, you guys just go inside, go get checked out, go to medical. And they said, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah.
No,
No, no,
you
no.
don't go there
The
now.
Serenos ran the tightest ship.
Far and away. No question.
There was a Southsider. He lived 2 doors down to me, Jake. He had 2 cells down from me, Jake. Cool as hell, youngster. So I kicked it with. I knew them all. I was friendly with them. And the Serenos actually got me cush jobs in prison. The Serenos looked out for me. I was cool with them. And anyways, Jake, it was funny because he used to like to sleep in. The Serenos at Victorville, you had to be up when the doors cracked and with your shoes on in case something was jumping off. You
Yeah.
had to be ready to go because this was cells where we were. And every morning at the same time, the doors opened up and they would call chow and whatever. And you usually 10 or 15 minutes before chow, they would open the doors and you could mill around in the day room where the TVs were. But the Serenos no other race was as strict as the
Oh, no.
Southsiders.
I remember
Yeah.
watching them one day doing calisthenics. I thought, there's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of
Burpees.
professional football teams take lessons from these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They were burpee machines.
oh, yeah. Oh, were
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
I mean, everything they lifted and done in time and stuff, and it was amazing in those guys. And I was great with them. I thought they were some of the best guys to get along with of the whole
Really,
prison
they
system.
were cool. They were some
Very
cool
respectful.
dudes, man. Very cool, man. I love my Southsider buddies, man. I met some good dudes, man. In fact, when we get this going, I got one named Rob. He's over in Santa Ana, and I'm gonna find this guy's sharp, man. And I would love him to get him involved in Prison Break because he runs things good. But yeah, you know what I mean. But it was but I remember this guy Jake. He used to always sleep in. And the unit shot caller for our unit was this guy Toro, and Jake never woke up on time, man. He was on street time, and I remember once a month or so they would go in there and give him like a blanket party. You know what I mean? They wouldn't
Oh,
leave
yeah.
marks, but they go in and bust him up, and they loved. I mean, they were cool with Jake. Jake was their boy, but and I go,
Cool.
Jake, yeah, it's the rules. And I go, God, Jake, I go, you can avoid them beatings. He goes, yeah, but I like to sleep in. And they usually only come about once every 3 weeks or so. So it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, some of them guys could take a beating. There were some tough boys in that group.
Yeah.
I mean, they were tough.
Yeah. Yeah. The Serenos were down, man.
They
And
weren't
could
as
play a little handball.
they weren't as big as Islanders, which the Hawaiians and all those guys.
Oh.
And man, them guys are huge. These guys are they're just big, like teddy bears. But we had a guy in La Tuna, Mika, and was his name. And this guy, when he would lift on the bench, there'd be so much weight on it, it would bend like that.
It would bend
And
the
he's doing it
bars,
for
yeah.
reps,
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah, right
immensely
around
strong.
450, the bars start bending. 405, but 450, yeah, they start bending, yeah.
Yeah, and just holy crap. And then he couldn't do it anymore because they started taking the weights away because of the fights in the weight pile, which
Right.
ruined life for a lot of guys. The weight pile was really the holy area for most
It was the
guys.
holy area. And I think that we covered, I don't know if we covered it, but we'll cover the riot at the camp
Yeah, we'll have to get that
sometime. We'll
sometime.
get back to that another time. But what Jack's talking about is there's like a written, not a written, but an unwritten rule. Don't use the weights in a gang fight
Yeah.
because they'll take them. And like Victorville, we had no weights. Victorville, they didn't even like you doing dips and push-ups. The cops would come over and say, "Hey, knock that off." Or I'd go do pull-ups in the unit on the rail from the tier, because I'm kind of a workout guy, and I would go in there and do pull-ups and that, and some cops would let you, but people took them working out serious in there,
Oh yeah.
and
It was
and
your
and
life.
and you could catch a beating for using a weight on someone. Yeah, because it affected everyone, and they were bad. And that's back to the shot caller thing. That's why I think shot caller kind of is my favorite name for the beer. Shanked is real. People like the shank too.
Yeah.
They like the shank, but for me, like the shot collar too, it's kind of funny. The shank, yeah, you know, people have probably seen it. It's a prison shank, and in fact, the shank that's on our tap handles and in our logo, it was an actual prison shank that I had downloaded off the internet. It was under they had all the shanks they had confiscated in some California prisons, and I saw one. And for the people that don't know, a lot of times all they are is sharpened metal with tape wrapped around them, so you don't cut your hands if you're using them. And so the logo for our shank is, I probably should move the phone and just show you, but because I'm sitting here in front of one of our tap handles, but it's kind of a basic tap handle. There's a lot nicer ones, more luxurious, but I got a lot of people going, man, I like that tap handle.
Yeah. No, we'll show it at some point.
Yeah.
What I want to do before we swing out of here today, let's go talk about the beer a little bit without getting detail on what the
Yeah.
financing you're doing stuff. What's your plans in the near future and then down the road a little ways here?
Well, the near future is for me to get out of my job. And I just talked to someone today, and like I said, like we're not going to get into the depths of the financing, but you got to eat and you got to pay your bills. And so right now I'm driving a truck hauling cars, and that's going to end. And so basically, we want to leave right now. We're going to start in the Inland Empire, which is Riverside County and parts of San Bernardino County in California. And I'm already in Orange County too. So that Los Angeles County and San Diego County, we're going to stay in the Southern California area, which is massive. I mean, if you're successful in this, you have a successful company. But really, that's not our goal, Jack. You know that. We feel we're a national brand. You know, this message of what we've gone through, what millions of other people have gone through, the criminal justice system, it's not a Southern California phenomenon. It's a national thing, and we want to hire people coming out of prison to work for our company and train them in the craft beer business. We're going to do it. Like I said, sometime we'll get back to it. When we started in New York, was putting up accounts there, and it just didn't work out. I know I've been out. I go out and sell them myself, and we're gonna start with Southern California. And I've already got somebody, like once this site gets popular. If you guys keep supporting us and watching our stuff, you'll be able to buy our beer online and get it shipped anywhere from the lower 48. So no matter what state you are, you can get shanked. We're only going to sell shanked, and just so people can try our product. And we want to put merch up, you people, because we know YouTube isn't a local centric thing. There's no telling who's watching this, but we want to be able to have you support us by buying a t-shirt or whatever we have, a t-shirt or a hat or a hoodie. And we want to go national. Actually there's a lot of countries this would resonate in: South America, Mexico.
Well, there's a worldwide fascination with the American prison system because we lock so many people up and other countries just don't. No one does like we
Well,
do.
no, we got, what is it? We've got about 4.3 or something percent of the world global population, and 25% of its
Yeah.
prisoners.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not
think
to
of it.
mention, it's not just that, but it's just like me and you, but everybody around the globe has grown up watching American prison movies.
Oh yeah, and look at the prison movies, the prison show, Escape from Alcatraz,
Yeah.
county jail shows. I mean, and the thing is, even Russia and China don't lock up that many people. I mean, we hear about it and they don't. And
No.
you look at the European countries and everybody else, they think, what in the hell are you guys doing? And the other problem with it is, and I'm not going to get on a big long rant here because it comes out in some other things, and then is the corruption and stuff involved in the prison system. The problem with the waste net, it doesn't work. The way they do it, it doesn't work.
Well, I don't know why
People
Elon
out
Musk.
here.
Yeah, Elon Musk needs to get after, but he will. Right now, there's not enough money in it. But yeah, it's corrupt. It's not fair. When you have privately owned prisons, that are financing campaigns of Congress and stuff, and so to get them to lock up more people. Oh God, there's a conflict of interest there. Last time I checked,
and that was going on.
Yeah, no, it's
and we
not.
could go out and-
It is.
Yeah, it is, and it's without even getting to politics. You and I are different political backgrounds, even, and we're different about every way you can think of. But we both agree that no one's really done that much of anything for it, except make it worse.
No, except make it worse.
Yeah.
If the people really understood how much the justice system sets the whole thing up for people to come back, not to succeed.
Yeah.
Which is a huge cost for the government, and not to mention loss in wages and family and connections, the money that it costs in destruction of private lives just because it's set up like that. It's kind of sad. And
it is. And the thing is, I want to point out first, everybody is, we aren't whiners and criers.
No,
we deserve what we deserve. What
I know. I did my time. Yeah, I did my crime. I did my time. Yeah,
I didn't whine about it. I had to go down there, didn't shed a tear. There I was, boom. And I did it. And Greg did it. And a lot of other guys we knew did it too. Just did it.
Yeah.
The problem is, you see, and I saw a lot of really young guys come in that were literally virgins to the world and leave bad dudes. And that's a bad thing.
We're back to the thing with the Victorville thing. If you come in and you're a 25-year-old, you might come in because you had some warrants and you had and stuff. So your security level went up just because of your age. Jack, you know how the feds do. They base a lot of it on your age. The point system and the age, your age is a big basis for that.
Yeah.
And so you get young guys that really were good kids. Well, they were fucked up maybe, using drugs and doing dumb shit and committing crimes, but they weren't violent predators, And so they come in there and they said, well, you got to be a soldier now.
Yeah.
And so you got to shank this guy or you're getting a beat down and getting locked up, you're going to the hospital. And so that to your point, they come in as, hey, they were criminals, but they weren't violent criminals. They were drug offenders.
Explain that point system a little bit too to people is the younger you are, there's a point system at what level of security you're going to be at. It's based on so many points. And the more points you have,
age is the number one. Age and violence.
And that's crazy if you stop and think about it, where violence rightfully so, gets a lot of points. But your age fits right into it like violence. So you got a 21-year-old kid, he can get as many points as a 50-year-old guy who has violence.
Right, exactly, because he's 21 years old,
yeah.
And the propensity to use violence on someone is much greater in a younger person, even though they're not like that. But
they're not like that. That's
but
just
they
their
learn
idea,
how to be like that. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll be touching on more of that later and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just kind of wanted to go what your plans were, and I agree that this model is nationwide, probably worldwide.
Worldwide,
because it's not. But one of the things when we talk about New York is New York was not a felon-friendly state, besides the problem that we had a partner didn't work out with. But it wasn't a felon like California is. And I think it's just you've got to be somewhere where you at least have a shot. And that's a good place to start. Like you said, the population's heavy there. But I want to see it come to the Midwest. There's people here that would like to try it and have tried it and really like the beer. And that's not blowing smoke. We've had guys here.
We could sell it in Iowa, Jack.
Oh, yeah, I know it. I've already talked to guys that, they're definitely, would do it. And so that's just it. So we have to jump through what we have to here to get this done. That's basically what we're talking about. Well, Greg, you got anything else you want to add before we sign her off for the day?
I just want to thank anyone who's listening, and I know there's a few. And if you're in Southern California area, come on down to the Brew Crew in Riverside and try one of our beers. And we appreciate your support.
Yeah, get any questions? Shoot them in to us. We'll answer them all. I get them all the time. The other ones. So do that, Greg. Out in the Brew Crew. Have a good time out there. Relax. We're back here. Well, I'll be seeing you next week again. And folks out there, if you get a chance, mash down the subscribe button if you want to. Come back, see us now and then. Just come back and see how we're doing. All right? Next week, we'll see you. Somethins Brewing. See ya.